Welcome to the Bryce Eddy Show. So today, my guest, back for the second time, Ed Tarpley. We are going to talk about what's happening right now with the election and election integrity. He is working his butt off along with all kinds of people. So we're going to get an update from him. Ed, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great, Bryce. Thanks for having me on today. It's a exciting time, a lot going on right now. So it's it's a great time to be alive.
Yeah, that's an understatement for sure, man. I think everybody's got got their shoulder to the wheel. Everybody's working hard right now. I think it's a great contingent of all the people that want to save the republic, all the people that want to put America first are working their butts off, because the other side, including Satan himself, who I think animates these people, is working equally as hard. So I'm glad you're at it. What's the mood like?
Well, I think today I was at a luncheon, Rotary Chamber luncheon in Alexandria, Louisiana, which is where we're located, but that's where my office is located. And we had Senator John Kennedy speak. He was talking about the differences between Vice President Harris and President Trump. Of course, anybody that's been following the election knows that there are vast differences
Right.
between candidates. And he of course he's speaking to a chamber luncheon and a Rotary luncheon, and those guys are typically non-political. So it's not a place for him to give a partisan speech, but clearly he's for President Trump, and said he had been campaigning around the country for other candidates in the Senate and that sort of thing. And what I take away from that is there is an effort nationwide that, people are doing everything they can wherever they are to help the Republicans retake the Senate, hold the House, and elect President Trump. So, really, all of this works together. I mean, there's a synergy here that you've got different people in different places working. And, these people, they're not connected with each other. I mean, there's a lot of organic activity out there. And, every county is involved, every city's involved, every state's involved. So, we just, we're doing everything we can. We're trusting God that we're not wasting any time, that we're doing everything we're supposed to be doing, and that in the end we'll have a great victory. So that's where we are. A lot of optimism and a lot of encouragement today.
Amen. Amen. Well, hey, I'm praying for that. So when you mentioned the chamber and Rotary, and, of course, it's supposed to be a nonpartisan group, that's a collection of business people, community people. What was the tenor in the room? What did you feel? Because, I got to believe a lot of these folks, even if maybe they were more traditionally Democrat, if you're in business or you're seeing what's happening, unless you're part of the elite kind of corporate superstructure, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have been bad for us. Was that palpable in the room? Were you having sidebars with people that were kind of feeling that way?
I think so. I think that people are talking about the election. Everybody's talking about the election. Senator Kennedy talked about the budget, the national debt, the deficit, all those things. He professes to be a budget a hawk. He talks about how things are out of control, and he's on the Senate Appropriations Committee. He's right there. He's got a front row seat to everything. Obviously, he's looking out for Louisiana, and he says, "Look, if they're handing out money, we want Louisiana to get their fair share." Which I understand. We all pay taxes, and so whatever is being given out, you want to make sure your state's taken care of. But the fact is that we know that the Federal Reserve is just printing money. We know that we really don't have the money. We have a $35 trillion national debt. It's gone up, I think, $5 trillion in the time that Joe Biden's been president. Enormous financial problems. I think he was really honest today, and he said that he really doesn't know how they fix it. Okay,
Yeah.
and Democrats have to come together and sit down and say, we've got to fix this. Okay, this cannot continue. And he said, look, I'm hamstrung. I said, I've got a lot of good bills, but Chuck Schumer won't let any of my bills on the floor. I said, the Democrats control, and a lot of the solutions that we have, don't see the time of day. And he's absolutely right. I mean, the Republicans don't control the Senate, and so both of our senators are Republicans, and that's a problem. Hopefully, I believe, I'm optimistic that the Republicans will gain control of the Senate, and I think if they do, then that's going to open the door for a lot of great opportunities to turn things around. I mean, look, I like Ted Cruz, I like Rand Paul, I like Mike Lee. I like Tommy Tuberville. I mean, those are the kind of guys I like. I mean, they're out there, man, they're shouting from the rooftops, and they're ready to go get them. And I'm hoping that they're able to do that. So, but overall, I think Senator Kennedy was optimistic, and I think the crowd is optimistic. I mean, look, it's a very conservative group where I'm from, and overwhelmingly, the people in that group support President Trump. But let's face it, there are some Democrats in there, and there's some people that supporting Harris too. So, I mean, although it's hard for me to understand how anybody could support Harris if you're in business, I'm sure there are a few dyed-in-the-wool Democrats that do support her. But where we live in North Louisiana, it's going to go heavy for Trump, no question about it.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty clear. But, I'm talking to a lot of business folks that, traditionally were Democrats, and for some folks, it's like, leaving a church you were a member of forever, all right, maybe, hey, we don't like where they're going right now, but we're loyalists. And so you do have a lot of those traditional, even, the JFK style folks. But when I have sidebar conversations with them, they know that Trump would be better for them from a business and financial standpoint. So, that's part of what carries the day.
Well, not only that, Bryce, but I think if I were to have a conversation with some folks that I know who are in elected office as Democrats, they would candidly say that Kamala Harris has been a terrible candidate. I mean, she's been like the worst. How can they sell Kamala Harris to the business community? I mean, really, how can you sell her to people that are working hard to make a living? They've got a business. They're being bound up by regulation. They're being overwhelmed with taxation. I mean, all of this, the flood of illegal aliens that have crossed our border, that's affected our school system, our hospitals, healthcare, roads, transportation. Everything's been impacted by the influx of 20 million illegal aliens. I mean, and Senator Kennedy talked about that too. I mean, it's we all know that is a problem. He's been to the border. He said he has. I know he's been there.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know Senator Kennedy personally. I've known him since high school. So if I had a chance to be just one-on-one with him, I'd say, John, I mean, you got to remember the state you represent is one of the most conservative states in the nation. And we're tired of what's going on, and it's going to take some dramatic action. People are going to have to move out of their comfort zones to see that these problems are addressed. And so I'm just hoping that we do get a majority in the Senate. They support President Trump, because Trump's going to need their support and need their help.
Yeah, he needs everybody right now. Like I said earlier, all hands need to be on deck. What are you facing out there with some of the, conservative Christians that are having, heartburn about Trump and some of the issues from a, character standpoint, or, his stance on pro-life recently, and some of those sort of things? Because I'm having those conversations daily with folks on, in my circles, and even online here. I'm hoping people understand what's at stake, and we do not have the luxury of sitting this one out. We do not have the luxury, I believe, of another 4 years with this administration that's in charge now. I think they are going to be pulling all the stops out. So, are you having some of those conversations with folks too that are just reluctant to back Trump on those means?
Let me say this. I've had conversations with people that have shared with me about individuals who are Christians and come from a Christian background and grew up in church, and some of them are concerned about voting for President Trump. They don't think he's strong enough on the life issue. They're concerned about things he said about people and that sort of thing. So my response to that is this. I mean, look, no candidate is perfect. Every candidate's got flaws and imperfections. We all know that. Uh, what we have to do is let's look at what the alternative is. I mean, we know where Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party stands. I mean, look, she is the prophetess of death.
That's right.
That's what she is. She's the prophetess of death. And the Democratic Party at the national level, has clearly endorsed the culture of death in our country.
That's
What
right.
say? They had a mobile abortion clinic at the Democrat National Convention, and like 25 or 30 people got abortions while the convention was going on. That is sick. I mean, that is demented. And so I'm just telling you, that's what they represent. Now, at the local level, we've got some local people here, that have been Democrats for years and years that are conservatives, and they don't believe that way. But clearly, at the national level, the National Democratic Party and all the leadership of the Democratic Party is completely against life. They're against the culture of life, and they have embraced with open arms the culture of death. Well, what is the culture of death? The culture of death is the destruction of unborn human life in the womb. That's what it is. We know that. We know that the Bible tells us that children are heritage from the Lord. That we are formed in the womb. That God knows you from the womb. That
That's right.
that His hand is upon us from the moment of conception. And so, for us, life is sacred. And we, as believers, as Christians, our God is the God of life. I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me. And so He's the giver of life in this life and in eternity. I mean, think about it. Life, that's what Christianity is all about. He wants us to give us life. He's come to give us life and life more abundantly. So that's what Jesus has said. So here's the bottom line for me is, look, President Trump at his heart is a good man. And I believe that he wants to do the right thing because he loves people and he loves our country. And he appointed 3 pro-life justices to the Supreme Court. And because of their votes, we overturned Roe v. Wade after 50 years. So that tells me all I need to know. He's not perfect, and I wish he would be a little more consistent, a little more eloquent on the issue of life. But I'm willing to take what we've got, and let's go with what we've got. And we need to put him back in office because he has around him people that I'm convinced that will be giving him good advice, and they're good people that we need back in office. And think of what would happen if Kamala Harris gets in office. Think of the fact that the White House would be in the hands of her team and all those people for the next 4 years. That to me is a catastrophic thought.
Yeah. Amen. Well said. Well, I think you're right. We also need to look at this as round one. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in our political party. There's a lot of candidates that we need to raise up, from our young people over time. But this is round one. We need to defeat the Marxists. We need to defeat this, this evil ideology that has infected the United States of America. We need a revival for Christ. All of those things need to happen. But the first thing we need to do is defeat this, evil group of people that are going to take us in not just the wrong direction, but an absurdly evil direction. Because, you mentioned the culture of life there, versus the culture of death. Their culture of death includes sterilizing our kids and all the things that they've been doing. It's all part of that same thing. And those people need to be defeated. Then let's, from within our own ranks and our own party, let's gain control and move things back to a very solid kind of Christian world view of things, and and kick out the people that want endless wars and the people that want to have us be abused worldwide. And I think Trump is a great person to help us do that because he does care about America.
No question.
And I think he'll help lay the groundwork for what can come for many years if we win this round.
Well, there's no question about that. And look, as Christians and as pro-life advocates, we need to shout the truth from the housetops. We need to not shrink back and not be afraid to tell people why we are supporters of the cause of life. Why
Amen.
important? Well, we have to protect human beings, and we have to protect mothers and the unborn. That's part of what we should be doing. I've been involved in the pro-life movement for years. I was a part of a group that founded a crisis pregnancy center here about 8 years ago, and I served as
Yeah.
president for 2 years, and we've saved many babies. We've been there for mothers that didn't know what to do because of a crisis pregnancy situation, and we've been there to do sonograms and then to help them with all kinds of support and care. And then after the baby came, we continued to help them. We continued to support them with child rearing classes and other types of work that we could do. And this is what goes on all over the country. We have people everywhere doing this, thousands and thousands of people. And this is the extension of the hands of Jesus into the community. That's what this is. And when we help people that are poor, that are dispossessed, that are downtrodden, people that are looking for help, people that are looking for encouragement, where should they go? Well, they need to certainly look in their community, in their neighborhood, hopefully in the churches in their area. That we should be there to lend a helping hand. But most of all, we should be there to help those that have a pregnancy that is unplanned, and be there to let them know that they are loved, and that we love them and we love the unborn child, and we're there to support them and lift them up. That's what this is all about. I just think we have such a powerful message. We just need to keep talking about it and not be intimidated.
That's right.
Look, they talk about Kamala Harris said the other day that she would not be for any exceptions to abortion for all 9 months, all the way up to term. And I'm thinking to myself, that is a radical, unbelievable position. I'm also asking myself as I'm listening to that. I said, well, do you have no concern for the life of the unborn child? I mean, where is your love? Where is your empathy? Where is your heart? Is there no feeling? Is there nothing there that moves you about this? And apparently not. Apparently not. I mean, that's a tragic. It's a tragic statement in our country. We have one of the two candidates for president that shows no concern whatsoever for the life of the unborn child. And look, I just say that let me tell you what, it's been said that all that is necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. All that's necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men and women to do nothing. So what does that mean? That means that we living in the world. Now, we might not be of the world, but we're in the world. And while we're here, we have a job to do. And we need to work hard to make sure we have great leaders at the local level, the state level, and the national level. How do we do that? Well, guess what? We get to vote, we get to campaign, we get to speak, we get to advocate, we get to do all these things that they don't get to do in every country, as you well know, Bryce.
Yep.
And so I just think right now it would be a sin and a shame for anyone to sit home and not vote, for anyone to not be engaged in this battle. It is a great battle for the survival and future of our nation. And let me tell you what, no one can be AWOL on this. You've got to stand up and be counted.
That's right. That's right. Amen. Amen. So you mentioned earlier, and I want to know if you can talk about this, that you're filing a brief right now. You're doing a bunch of work that's, not just, riling people up on my show. Tell me a little bit of some of these tactical things that you're doing right now too.
Well, one thing we're doing today, we just got through filing, just as we were going on the show, we just filed electronically an amicus brief with the U.S. Supreme Court in the Virginia case, which was just got to the Supreme Court yesterday, involving the effort by Governor Glenn Youngkin to remove from the voting rolls in Virginia 1,600 illegal aliens who had been registered through the motor voter law, through the driver's licenses law, where people can be registered when they get a driver's license. Well, these people self-identified as non-citizens. Okay. Now, in my opinion, a non-citizen shouldn't be able to get a driver's license, but we know that they do. And so what happens is that many of them are registered to vote because of the ability to be registered when you get a driver's license. Okay, well that's a federal law that was passed 20 years ago now, that we kind of commonly known as the motor voter law. Okay, and so when I was a young person, I had to go to the local courthouse and register to vote. And most people still do that, but a lot of people do it at the DMV. Well, in any event, Governor Youngkin removed, I think, 1,600 voters, took them off the rolls. They were non-citizens, clearly should not have been registered to vote. Everybody agrees on that, or everybody should agree on that. Guess what? The Department of Justice last week files a lawsuit against the state of Virginia, asking that those voters be placed back on the rolls. A federal judge, a liberal judge in Virginia, issued a stay preventing the state of Virginia from removing those non-citizens from the voter rolls. Well, the state of Virginia has gone to the U.S. Supreme Court with an emergency writ, and they accepted it. And they gave the respondents, the other side, until 3 o'clock this afternoon Eastern time to file a response. Of course, in the meantime, several other groups filed amicus briefs. We are one of those groups. You could go to the Supreme Court website right now and pull up the case, Bills versus Virginia, BEALS, and you can see the amicus briefs that's been filed for pro and con. Okay, and so what are we saying? We are saying that the state of Virginia has followed Virginia law, the Virginia Constitution, and the U.S. Constitution. And everything that Governor Youngkin has done is lawful and pursuant to the law in their state, the state of Virginia, which gives them the authority to remove non-citizens from the voting rolls. And that the federal judge got it wrong, that her ruling is wrong, and that the stay should be lifted. So that's what we're arguing in our amicus brief.
Yeah, what's their argument on that side? I mean, stated argument. Their desire is to create confusion and give themselves some edge and let these folks vote, hopefully in their favor, right? But what is their actual argument to why we should have them on the voting rolls?
Well, in the motor voter law, okay, the national voter registration law. And let me see if I can find this for you real quick here. Hang on just one second here.
Yeah.
The law provides for a 90-day period. It's the NVRA, the National Voter Registration Act, the National Voter Registration Act. There's a 90-day period in there in which the state has to set up a procedure for dealing with people that should be taken off the rolls. Okay. What this judge did is she basically said that there needed to be a 90-day period of time in which this could be accomplished to take the voters off the rolls, that the state couldn't just take them off the rolls, that they had to go through a process. And I think her argument is that the National Voter Registration Act, it sets up a process for this to take place. Well, our response is that Virginia law sets up a process for it to take place.
Right.
And under the Constitution, each state has control of its own election process.
That's right.
Registration, voting, counting the votes, all of that is governed by state law, not federal law. And so each state, there are 50 sovereign states, and each state has its own set of election laws, and every state is different. We know that every state is different. So what Governor Youngkin said is, look, we're only following the law that we've had in place for over 20 years. And for the Department of Justice to come in here a week before the election and tell us we can't, run our elections in accordance with the law that we have in Virginia is just simply wrong. It's a step too far. It's overreach by the federal government, and so that's what I mean. That's a simple explanation of what's going on here, but that's what they're doing. They're using this 90-day period. But our argument, and I think the state of Virginia's argument, is the 90-day period is misapplied here. That's not what the law had in mind.
Yeah, well, I think you're exactly right. I mean, logic dictates that. And again, what I find so fascinating is all of the evidence coming out that illegal aliens or non-citizens will be voting in this election. There's plenty of that evidence. There's evidence that it's happened already before. The left has been telling us for the last couple of years that it doesn't happen, and we're creating a panic, and we're fear mongering. And now they're turning around and we can point to these sort of things and they're saying, oh, well, it's a good thing. It's their typical game that they play.
Talking out of both sides of your mouth. Okay. What's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? I mean, we should have a rule that everybody can follow. And look, it should be a no-brainer, Bryce, that non-citizens are not eligible to vote.
Yeah.
You have to be a citizen of the United States of America to vote in an election. And so what we have here is something that doesn't make any sense. It's illogical.
That's right.
Just flat out wrong. And that's all you can say. And let me tell you what happens here. If you allow non-citizens to vote, if you allow illegal aliens to vote, what does that mean? That means that our votes are impacted by their votes.
That's right.
Words that they're canceling out my vote in Louisiana or your vote in Idaho, because every non-citizen that's voting who shouldn't be voting, his vote or her vote dilutes our vote. So dilution is the word. Dilution is the dilution of the vote in our states,
right,
by illegal voters in other states and in our states too. I mean, look, I'm convinced that there are illegal aliens on the voting rolls in every state of the nation. There's no question in my mind.
I think you're right.
And so how many, we don't know, but they're out there. And again, I go back to this motor voter law because, they're not supposed to be getting driver's licenses, although in some states that's permissible. But I think that's where it occurs.
Yep.
When they get a driver's license. And, these 1,600 indicated at the time they got their license that they were non-citizens. Well, I mean, that's clear as day. And I think Governor Youngkin had every right to take those people off the rolls. And look, guess what? There are other people that should be taken off the rolls too. And we just don't have the time or effort to get that done, at least not for this election. But the voting rolls have to be cleaned up nationwide, Bryce. It's a scandal.
Yeah, no, that's right. And, it's been prevented all over the place. I mean, I forget the state that announced that, they've identified it, but they're not removing them yet. And I mean, there's been that all over the place. And again, it is for nefarious purposes, and they'll use, motor voter lives against that when that was being pushed years ago, because I knew that it was a setup for these kind of games. It should be a process for you to vote, not an arduous process, but a process. And I don't think it should be made to be so easy that you fall into voting. I think it needs to be a decision. I think you need to be informed. There needs to be something that you pursue a little, because that demonstrates that you are a good citizen. And they argue about disenfranchising people, and they argue about all that sort of stuff, when the truth is they want people who are super easily manipulated, people who they know they can bribe with free stuff, or people who are just low information folks that they can, completely manipulate. And that's the game that they have played for decades.
Well, question about that. Let me just say the group that filed the amicus brief is the former Feds Group Freedom Foundation out of New Jersey. This is a health freedom group that was created in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic and all of the horrible things that have happened to people that died in the hospitals as a result of the hospital protocols that
Yeah.
they put in place. People were forced to take remdesivir, which is a very toxic drug, resulting in the deaths of thousands and thousands of people. I mean, the way people were treated in hospitals during COVID, you remember the stories.
Oh
You
yeah.
couldn't even get in to see your loved one. If they got into the hospital, it was tragic. People couldn't get the treatment they requested or they desired. They were
Yeah.
told, you have to do this. You have to take this drug. I mean, these are horrific things that happen to people. And I've had a chance to meet a lot of these people. And what the former Feds Group Freedom Foundation is all about is representing people that suffered through the hospital protocols and whose loved ones died as a result of those government enforced methods of treatment, and also people that have suffered through the vaccine mandates and everything that happened there. So the health freedom movement is really large and it's growing. And so one of the reasons why they wanted to file this is because of the lack of transparency in the healthcare system is also similar to the lack of transparency in the election system. In other words, the same it's the same mentality, it's the same logic being used. And so, we have to have free and fair and transparent elections. We need to know what is going on, who's voting, where they're voting, are they legitimate voters, have they been verified, how are the votes being counted, is that a transparent system, are poll watchers allowed in the voting precincts to monitor the voting and then the tabulating of the votes, the counting of the votes. Are people there to watch the tabulation and watch the counting of the votes? Now, I know that every state's different, and the way we do things here in Louisiana is going to be different the way they do things in Pennsylvania. But the point is the same. The principle is the same, Bryce. That wherever you are, Louisiana, Pennsylvania, Idaho, wherever you are, there should be free, fair, and transparent elections.
That's
Just,
right.
just like the healthcare system should be transparent.
That's
And,
right.
we should have liberty. We shouldn't be forced to take a vaccine. We shouldn't be forced to take a drug like remdesivir. We ought to be able to refuse and say, I don't want to take that. I want to pursue another treatment. And if not, please just let me go home. Okay. Let me go somewhere else. And, loved ones weren't able to leave the hospitals. They weren't able to leave nursing homes. Gosh, what happened was an awful thing for our country. And people are still suffering as a result of what happened. So anyway, that's what the former Feds Group Freedom Foundation is all about. And that's who filed the the amicus brief today. And I'm honored to represent them and file it on their behalf.
Amen. Amen. Well, listen, Ed, thank you again for all the work that you're doing. We have warriors like you around the country, and we need everybody to be doing this. So, I'm very grateful. Tell us how we can support you, how we can follow you, and yeah,
Well,
give us where
you're
we can follow you.
You're very kind. I'm on Twitter, now known as X, and at Ed Tarpley, just at Ed Tarpley. I do have a Facebook page. It's a public page, so someone could go on my public page, just like my page. You can do that. But I'm at Ed Tarpley on Twitter, and of course, I have a law firm here in Louisiana, Ed Tarpley Law Firm. So let me just say one other thing here. You mentioned social media. Let me tell you what. I'm grateful for Elon Musk.
Amen.
I am so grateful for that guy. Look, I believe God is using him. I don't know if he knows that, but I believe, I believe God is using him because he has become a true advocate for free speech and fighting this censorship that Biden and Harris have implemented. I'm telling you what, I am just really grateful because let me tell you what, I don't know what we would do if we did not have the platform that we have today on Twitter X, because that is a magnificent platform for conservatives and Christians to get their messages out. So one final thought. I would like to leave you with this. Let me tell you, if there's a Christian listening to this show, if there's somebody that loves Jesus listening to this show, and they've been conflicted about whether to vote, I just want to encourage you to go vote. You're a citizen of this country. We all know that our real citizenship is in heaven. We know that. And we're just here for a short time in this life. But while we're here, we're supposed to occupy. We're supposed to be engaged. We're supposed to be busy, working and doing things, creating, making things, and making a difference in the lives of people. And you can make a difference by going to vote. So my plea is, don't stay home. Don't let some personality issue or something President Trump has said keep you from going to vote. You need to go vote. He's our candidate. He's our only choice right now. And we've got to get out there and help him. And look, most of all, let's be praying for him and his family. We live in perilous times, and he needs God's protection all the way through. So, hey, Bryce, I love you, buddy. And it's a pleasure and an honor to be on your show.
Well, thank you, Ed. I appreciate you, and that was well said, well expressed, and to God be the glory. And we are out. Hey, thank you for watching or listening to this show. If you are someone who listens to us on the podcast apps, please go to our Rumble channel. Even if you're not going to watch us there, we'd appreciate you hitting subscribe. We want to boost those numbers up and make sure that channel continues to grow. But again, thank you so much for listening to us.